I think to pick up from what Robert was saying, I think a venue such as this, a show such as this, has greatly taken the place of what you described, the store where you would go and browse for records, and yes, they happen to sell a couple of hi-fi lines too, and that of course doesn't exist any longer, but I'm seeing the same sort of camaraderie and the same sort of enthusiasm at something like this, which is, you know, to me, I've been to shows that have been just trade shows, and they're a real drag after a while. You can stand there for just so long. But when you're here amongst, you know, people such as most of yourselves who are enthusiasts, you can't help but pick up on the enthusiasm. And yeah, sure, when I was over at that place on the second floor, aux 33 or aux 333 or something, it was that, you know, sort of like, yeah, look at this is great. I haven't seen this in a long time. I really wanted to get a copy of this. They had some old vinyl and some new vinyl. You know, many of us bought a lot of vinyl there. So I think perhaps maybe we are faced with a situation where shows like this will have to become more and more often, and perhaps, you know, somewhat lower budget things so people can afford to go to them and people can afford to exhibit at them a little more often. But I would also say that for me, again, looking at the way that software and hardware sort of dovetail together, I've been diving into the dumpster of the past in terms of both music, in terms of both, you know, getting into 78s and a lot of the equipment that I've been enjoying. And I'm not suggesting that, you know, there will be a retail version of such, but I'm finding a community where I'm seeing similar sorts of enthusiasms that are driving the love for one and the love for the other, hardware and software together at a pretty good pace.
But I mean, one of the things which is disturbing me is that the music itself, I mean, what's happened to it? I mean, I visited Art last summer, and Art was playing me 78s, and he played me a Louis Armstrong recording from the early 1930s. And my goodness, I mean, not only did the music jump out of his speakers, but the sound quality was pretty damn good for something which was, you know, over 70 years old. And so much of the recordings that are now released sound worse than that. And what is the point of a high-end system if the recordings themselves are compromised? I mean, I think the MP3 phenomenon, coupled with the tendency for record producers to want their music louder and louder and louder and louder, so they just compress the heck out of it, so they squeeze the music life out of it, as well as the sound quality, has been a real step back. And one of the things that concerns me, Stephen Mejias mentioned this on the Stereophile forum a few weeks back, that somebody did a poll of young people and to find out what kind of musical sound they liked. And I think, if I remember correctly, Stephen, that young people preferred the sound of the compressed, distorted MP3 because that was what they were familiar with. Is that correct?
Yeah. I forget what, where this poll was actually taken, but it was a music school, and it was baffling to me. Really difficult to believe that these kids were preferring the MP3s. That's frightening.
What came next after the MP3s, may I ask?
I don't know.
Not 78s, though.
Not 78s, no.
Or 45s.
I mean, it may be that, I mean, one of the things that I am really enthusiastic right now is the increasing distribution of true high-resolution recordings, either on DVD data discs, which you can read with your computer. And I was up in the Fidelio music room yesterday, and René Laflamme has both CD versions and high-resolution versions of his recordings he can play for you. And the fact that, you know, that liberates the music from the medium. But there has to be a market for that, for people to make it, you know, commercially viable. And I'm not sure if the audiophile community is large enough to get the really great music available as high-resolution downloads. Although, having said that, I noticed on the HD Tracks website this morning when I was web surfing that they've made the Robert Plant and Alison Krauss Raising Sand album available as 24-bit 96 kilohertz sampled files. So maybe even as I say it, I'm wrong. So questions from the audience. How are we going to handle this? if you speak out loud, I think we can probably hear you. Who would like to go first? Sir.
Do you think Blu-ray is a viable audio format?
Okay, the question is, do we think Blu-ray is a viable audio format?
I hope not. We have too many already as it is. I mean, look what happened with SACD. Was, to my way of thinking and in others' opinions, it was a very, very good musical format. I thought it represented a true musical improvement over the Red Book compact disc. And it's not exactly burning up the charts. And I'm not sure what would be gained by introducing another new digital disc format, howsoever great a potential it might pose. Personally, I think the greater potential for digital music is in various downloadable formats.
I certainly can't answer from the technical point of view, but I don't see any great impetus on the part of the industry to promote it as a high-definition audio format. They're spending most of the time promoting Blu-ray for its video capabilities and interactivity and all of that. And personally, I'm not even sure that that's the right way to go. A while back, when I was writing for what was then the print publication, Stereophile Guide to Home Theater, and we had questions that we could pose to people. And this was fairly early days in terms of the DVD format, and directors' commentaries and extras were being promoted as a great advantage of the format over the tape format. And I asked the simple question, do people listen to those accessory soundtracks by the director or actors and so on? And I was surprised and even dismayed that the percentage of people who actually listen to that is very small. I mean, it was something like 20% who say that, yes, I do. And the majority of people just don't bother. And I have a feeling the same thing is happening with this huge interactivity with Blu-ray. I have Blu-ray, and once I tried the interactivity and got on the Sony PlayStation website, and they tried to promote the various other movies that I'm not interested in, and I won't use the interactivity. It's just a gimmick as far as I'm concerned. The sound quality, potentially better, but I'm not sure if you're going to get people buying Blu-ray sound recordings just for the sound quality. And they had, as Art pointed out, the choice to do that with SACD, so probably the download for that niche market is the one with the highest viability.
Yeah, Calvin Rubinson has been covering the first releases of music on Blu-ray in his music sound column for Stereophile. And it seems that there is one advantage: you can get high-resolution surround channels, whereas with DVD-A you couldn't. They tended to be bandwidth limited. But in terms of the fundamental sound quality, it's the same high-resolution files that you can. It's no better just because it's on Blu-ray than the high-resolution files you can download from the various sites which is bringing up. So the question to me then becomes: is there a role still for a physical carrier of the media, of the music, in a world increasingly dominated by the internet? And I think the answer to that is no, as witnessed by the fact that, as I said earlier, record stores are disappearing fast. Stores where you can actually go and buy music on a physical medium are going the way of the dodo. So if there is a push to introduce music on Blu-ray, where will you buy those discs? Well, mail order from Amazon, obviously, and the various specialists like Music Direct and Acoustic Sounds. But again, this is not mass market stuff really, other than maybe Amazon. And so I think, yeah, will there be a future for high-resolution music on Blu-ray? I don't think so as a major music carrier in the way that CD was and LP was before it.